Hello, and welcome back to our web development tutorial series here on Turbo 360. At the end of the last video, we set up a simple request response cycle on our Node-Express project, which returns just a hello string. Let's go ahead and run that, make sure everything still works properly. So here I am in the root directory, the root level of my project. So I'm going to do npm run serve and head over to localhost 3000 and make sure everything still looks the same as it did at the end of the last video. And here we go. There it is. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn off the server, and what we want to do now is create a little bit more of a sophisticated response. We basically want to return some HTML rather than just a simple string. So what that means is we need to have HTML files which are entire web pages, more nice looking web pages, and those files are in the views directory, are stored in this views directory. So if I open this up, you'll see one file called index.mustache. So you may be wondering, what is this mustache file type? What does that mean? The .mustache stands for the mustache templating engine. So what that means is this project is using the mustache templating engine, and a templating engine is a tool that provides us the ability to generate dynamic responses within an HTML file. We will be doing that hopefully in this part, but certainly by the next part. So the important thing to take away here is that this is just an HTML document with some special properties that makes the HTML dynamic when we need it to be. So that's done through the Mustache templating engine. Mustache is just one of several templating engines. A couple popular ones are called Handlebars. Another one is called Pug. These are all basically varieties of the same thing. They just give you the ability to create dynamic HTML responses. So we're going to use that to do exactly that, create a dynamic HTML response. So these options, by the way, again, were configured by the project generator, our scaffolding generator for this project, and that was all done inside in the app.js in the configure app right here. So if you want to change that at any point down the road, you would remove this, and then install your own templating engine. But for now, we're going to stick with Mustache. So what we need is a new HTML file to return from this home page request. So inside the views directory, create a new file. We call it home.mustache. These are often referred to as templates, but again, these are just HTML files. So just set up a typical HTML document. I'm going to add a head tag. With a title tag. Welcome to my site. And then I'm going to create some very simple HTML content here. Hello, welcome to my website. Okay, so here again, this is some very, very rudimentary HTML, so I'm not doing anything fancy here. So this is going to be our template that we return on the home page request. So we want to go back to our route file, which handles this main home page request, and return. We want to render this template rather than just a hello string, right? So the template is named home.mustache. And so we want to go back to our main route, and instead of sending back this hello string, we want to render a template. So in this case, it's going to be render, and then the name of the template, which is home, if you see that. And we do not need the extension because the extension is implicit. So now this response should return the home template, this HTML. So let's see. So we do npm run serve, and then we head over to localhost 3000 and we see what we get. Hello, welcome to my website, and this is the HTML document that we are returning rather than, or the HTML template, rather than just that raw string. And you may notice over here, he says, welcome to my site, and this is the title tag right here. So I can also just say home, like that. And if I reload this page, this content up here should now say home. And so this is successfully returning the, Okay, so this route is now successfully returning the home template, and so everything is now working properly in terms of returning HTML. So, of course, this HTML could be much more sophisticated. It could be much more aesthetically developed. It doesn't really matter at that point. It's just HTML. However, let's take advantage of the actual templating engine capabilities so that we can see how it works. So the templating engine basically gives us the ability to inject raw data into an HTML document, and then the HTML document will render that data. If that doesn't make sense, it will in a second when we start using it. So let's say I have a data object here, const data, which is just going to be just a regular JSON object, and it's just a series of key value pairs. Let's say title, home page. This data object can be inserted into the template via the render command. So I just do comma and then data. And now this data object is accessible inside the home mustache template, which means we have access to this title key. So using the templating engine, going back to home mustache, instead of title here, we can do double curly brace and then title double curly brace. And this is where the mustache templating engine comes in real handy. We can just use the title key from the data to render the tag value, which is home page. So if I reload, here we have home page right here, and that means the data is being rendered successfully from this object. So if I put in an exclamation mark, you can see it more clearly. So right there. And so we can add as much content here as we want to. So let's say greeting. And now we have another key value called greeting. So if I go back to the home mustache, instead of this, I can just strip that out and do the double curly brace and do greeting. And here you will see, hopefully, this value rather than what's called a hard-coded string. So rather than having this what's called hard-coded, we can have this dynamically rendered from the data entry, the data values inserted into this render command. And that's how a standard templating engine works. Most templating engines work in some variety or fashion like this. A couple popular ones like Hogan I think works exactly like this, and Pug is a little bit different, but they're basically the same general concept. So templating engines are meant to do this, exactly this, by providing dynamic capability to our rendering our HTML, which we can then use data rather than hard coding it into the actual HTML content. And this makes it really easy to access data that's dynamic, like say from a database, so that every time a certain piece of data is requested from a database, for example, that can then be rendered here dynamically. So that's how we're using the Mustache templating engine, so hopefully that makes sense. And in the next video, we will create more dynamic routes. We will take advantage of this dynamic capability in a more typical fashion by creating dynamic routes, which the page will then return based on the actual request routes themselves. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully you got all this working. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.